Hi, I think we're live. Welcome to season 4, episode 14. Mark is going to be talking to us about really how a coach helps you get where you need to go. Before we go there, Lance is not here. He's not feeling very well today. Mark, what's been going on in your world this last week?
Yeah, this last week, obviously the big day, April 15th, tax day, was on Wednesday. If you didn't file your taxes, then you need to file for an extension as soon as possible. That was one thing. The other thing is, man, on the student loan repayment and the student loan program is rearing its ugly head, and it just is really hurting a lot of people. They're going to have to make decisions to get onto a repayment program, and that's starting to ramp up. You'll be able to make that choice. I think the assistance program, the new one that they built or are transitioning people as part of the one big beautiful bill from last year, is going to start on July 1st, 2026. So people really need to take their student loans seriously. They're not messing around. I'm not going to try to add any stress to it, but the consequences of ignoring your student loans is not a good idea, just like anything else. So the other thing is I'm on my own journey. Real quick update. I had started a 90-day journey. I do this every once in a while And so I did, the first 2 weeks, I did an analysis of my spending. I found, and I do use a cash envelope system. So it cuts down on the number of debit card transactions that I have. But I did the first 2 week analysis, and I found that my weekends, just as expected, the weekends are really where I typically spend a lot of money, or tend to spend. And so I found that by going back to my bank statement, looking at my transactions, and noticed that Home Depot, the last two weekends, Saturday specifically, I went to Home Depot and I used my debit card. And so I'm looking at that as a potential trend.
Was it accounted for in your budget? It doesn't seem like Home Depot is necessarily a frivolous spend.
It's not a frivolous spend. They were legitimate spending, but this is how you're spot on, Jennifer. You're spot on. So what I mean by that is there was not a home repairs or some kind of Home Depot type of line item in my budget. So it's currently being consumed in my miscellaneous category, which I don't spend. My miscellaneous category is very low. I don't spend a whole lot. The amount that I spent at Home Depot was about $29. I mean, they were just small purchases, but it's a trend, right? It's wow. Every Saturday I went, bought. The next Saturday went, bought. So it's a trend that I'm seeing. So what I'm going to do as a result, to your point, is I'm going to create a line item in my budget, specifically for home repairs and home. I don't want to call it
beautification, improvement.
No, I'm going to call it home improvement or home maintenance. It's going to be something outside of what I normally save in a sinking fund or temporary holding account for home repairs.
Yeah.
And so that was
beautification, like when you go to TJ Maxx and they have the cute little spring bunny.
Yeah, that's what my fund money is for. But the other thing about my so I had a 2 week goal of saving $500 every 2 weeks. Absolutely nailed it. I transferred my $500 into my temporary savings account.
Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't get you my account number in time on that.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's going on in my world. And just
Right. Well,
yeah.
I'm gonna create a T-shirt called "The Ides of April." Do you know what Ides are?
No.
You've
Well,
heard of the Ides of March, right?
yes. Oh yeah. Ides. Yep.
Yes. So Ides was a method of date keeping for the Romans, and it just meant that middle of the month. So the
Okay.
15th of April is also the 15th of March, the day which Caesar was killed. So that, and there was something else she said. Oh, weekends. Do you know
Yeah.
why weekends were created?
Why?
Henry Ford wanted
Oh,
his workers to have time off to enjoy a car they bought with him.
wow. There's your fun facts.
Yep. So I am looking ever so beautiful. I'm up in Ohio, which is looking ever so beautiful. Can you see the lake, or is there too much glare?
Oh, that's awesome. That's
Right.
fantastic.
So I have a gorgeous view, but unfortunately, our viewers don't have a gorgeous view because I've been doing lots of cleaning and yard work and all that while it's pretty up here. We're up here for the weekend. Um, but that view could be someone's. They're selling the house. It's
That's
been in
a
the
that's a
family since 97, 96 or 97.
Is that the house that you're in? You guys have listed?
Tim, yeah, Tim and his sister. It's their family's home, and they're actually having friends and family and some realtors they know over this weekend to kind of do a preview. Does someone want to buy it before they list it, and then they'll list it. So
That's a beautiful view. I mean,
yeah,
and looking at the layout, I absolutely love that wall of windows
yeah.
opened up to the lake. What a fantastic home! What a
It is.
fantastic
It's
house.
gorgeous. It's 3 beds, 3 baths. A breezeway attaches to a 3-car garage. There's a walkout basement. There's a laundry room. His dad was a very good woodworker, so there's an entire decked out woodworking room. But this little lake up in Ohio, there were a number of communities that they built in the 70s and 80s mostly, and they would dam like much like we do with the Timms Ford Lake that I live on, but they would dam and make a small community. So this is probably 300-400 homes, but maybe 100 of them are on the lake. And what's great about their lot is it's very level. You don't have to go down. Like I'm looking across, there's a lot of steps to get down to the lake across. And the lake on the other side is like 25 foot deep, whereas off the dock in season, it's probably 8 foot deep here, which means that when the dock lowers, the water lowers in the winter, you can do all the repairs and maintenance standing on dry ground. It's very like this lot is a huge thing. Plus the fact that they have a boathouse and a lift. Some of the homes only have a dock or have a boathouse but no lift. So, his dad being an engineer kept very good care of it, and they've updated. So it's a great house. It's a little lake community and great little retreat or full-time living. So
Yeah, that's right up my alley. I've been just really contemplating what are my next steps,
right.
and yeah, I mean, you've got. I always like planning. I did have someone mention to me this last week that really kind of has stuck with me. I actually appreciated the fact that she mentioned it, and what she said to me was, "You don't spend a lot of money, do you, Mark?" And it don't that has stuck with me for several days, and the reason why I actually feel like I do, but I very rarely spend it on myself. I'm always doing something for my rental properties. I went, and that's what generated the whole view back on this last 2 weeks, and typically where I was spending that money.
But
So
I think you plan when you are going to do something for yourself, it's planned. And even if it's a splurge, it's planned. And I
right.
think if a great opportunity came up, and let's say your splurge you had been planning for was in 2 months, but you're like, you know what, this would be a better thing. You know what I mean? Like if
Mhm.
you had a trip planned and you hadn't booked it yet, and you're like, oh, but you know what, this opportunity has presented itself, and this is an even better splurge, and I'm prepared to do it without hurting myself. I think
Right.
I don't think you're inflexible with it. Did it make you consider that maybe you should put a little more in your fund money and use it more often?
Well, funny fact it surfaced because my envelope. Like I said, I use an envelope system, and my envelope system is a core piece of my financial life. In fact, quite honestly, I can't function without my envelope system. It's just that important to me. I have a very strict routine, and that I go through in filling my envelopes. And it came up because my fund money still had the amount that I designate for my fund money still sitting in the envelope, and so that's what generated the question of you don't spend a lot of money, and
Right. And you do need to have fun.
I
But
think
you know what? I, for years, have had fun without spending money because money was not something I had.
right. Well, here's the thing. Here's the part that I've let just kind of meld in. That question.
Percolated.
Yeah, percolating over the last couple of days. I don't think it's necessarily something that I don't spend a lot of money. I think I'm very, because of my debt journey and because I understood how important using the money that you have comes to you. I now measure how my spending on the value of what I'm spending it on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure. And
If
that's the
I
thing
feel
too.
like I'm going to get a lot of value out of what I'm buying, then I don't do it.
Right. And I think somebody could hear that, especially the fact that you mentioned it was a female, and think, okay, that's a negative kind of a situation. And I know that you're single, and if you're dating, I think that you are fun loving enough, and it's not like you're austere like a Puritan.
Right.
You would
Right.
have a budget because you understand the importance of dating before and after marriage. I know you well enough to know that you would have something set aside to go on regular dates and an occasional big thing.
And I do, and honestly, Jennifer, I do, and I honestly think that when you value what you have and you're a good steward of what you have, and you spend wisely, I actually think that that's an attraction. That's a quality that attracts the right people.
Yeah.
Because that person will know that we're going to value what we have together. We're going to value how we spend that money, and whether or not what we're spending it on is going to have the value. We're going to get the value out of it. For example, I won't name the professional team, but I live in Dallas, so if that doesn't give you an idea, then I can't help you. But in going to one of those professional games, I don't find the value of what it costs to go to one of those games. I don't feel like the entertainment value is there for the cost that they're asking for.
I used to have season tickets to the Titans, and I felt the same. And I said, I just can't do it. Not only just the season tickets, but the time out of my day. And if I wanted to have a drink or a sandwich, the ungodly amount that it cost. And, like we were talking, Tim got pulled to get tickets for the Olympics, but not at the price that they're going to be. And he's a dive coach. It's insanity. So speaking of coaching, talk to us a little bit about how someone goes through their journey. Go ahead and put your slide deck up and walk us through how you can help, because I could sit here and do on my own, but I know that if you have a coach that's helping you, first of all, like if I'm doing weightlifting and I know that I'm doing a bench press, right? And I'm doing it like this, whatever it is I'm doing.
Yep.
I know how to do it. I'm disciplined enough that I want to do it myself. You don't have to say, did you go? That's not my thing. But if a coach is standing here, they might see that I need to just alternate slightly how I'm doing it to really hit the muscles I'm trying to hit. So there are a lot of things by being an outside presence that I think a coach can help with. And God bless, I know you've got to do some marriage counseling in there too, inadvertently. But walk us through your financial and career coaching and share with us what you will today.
Yeah, so thanks for the introduction on that, Jennifer. So a lot of times it starts off with understanding uh, what a person is currently going through, and I always take it from the perspective that once they have reached out to me, they've already actually had a transformative moment. The transformative moment that they've had is that it's basically we can't remain where we're at, man. And right now I've been in this position and I can't. I don't know what I need to do next, and we really start unpacking that. And I've got some slides that we'll go through initially. It's going to kind of set up the stage. It's going to be an update from the last presentation by starting off with how much debt each the U.S. household has. I did update that slide. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but really, hopefully, I answered your question.
Yeah, for sure. Go for it. Yeah, you did. Go for it.
Okay, give me 1 second here. So let me. All right. Well, hi, my name's Mark Crater. I'm owner and of Aspire Coaching. I'm also a master financial Ramsey Solutions trained financial coach. I also have trained through Ramsey Solutions on the career coaching aspect as well. I love coaching.
This up to really big, if it's okay with you.
What's that?
Is that okay with you if I do full screen so I can see better?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
So a coach has a coach. I've kind of given you guys a little background on myself. I love coaching. I know what coaching has done in my life and the impact that it made. That's why one of the reasons why I'm a coach in the spaces that I am. As we move forward in this, I think you're going to see some statistics about using a coach that maybe, hopefully, will shift your mindset about using a coach. I love coaching so much that I also went out and certified with John Maxwell's leadership team and their coaching program specifically. I also went through their DISC trainer for personalities, try to get an understanding of how to learn about people and their types of personalities. So I've been coaching for coming up on 4 years. I've been a contractor on the Smart Dollar Ramsey Solutions coaching team for about 3 years. And so now, here we are. I mean, why do I want, hopefully by the end of this presentation, I will have answered the question, why is it that I want to bring in a coach? And I know the dogs are just as interested in this.
Yeah. Hold on just a second. We had somebody come in, so the dog went crazy.
Okay.
Hold on 1 sec.
We're going to start off by talking about the total U.S. household debt. This is an update from the previous presentation that I did. Because in February of 2026, the fourth quarter of 2025 numbers were released, and we grew in debt. Once again, the trend line on debt is just continuing to grow and grow and grow. And so we're taking on more and more debt. It grew from 18.59 trillion in the third quarter of 2025 to 18.99 trillion in the fourth quarter of 2025. It's driven by increases in mortgage, credit card, student loan balances, and it represents an increase of probably not quite 197 billion. That number, I think I may have gotten that number wrong, but anyway, we'll move on. So total debt is 18.99 trillion, and again, the trend line is going up. One of the important things to recognize is the last bulleted item on this, the delinquency rates. Approximately 4.5% of outstanding debt was in some stage of delinquency. So that totaled $836.55 billion. So we're taking on debt, We're not paying it off. It's going into delinquencies and therefore wreaking havoc with your finances. And that happens. So when people come to me and say, Mark, in that transformative second, I don't want to be here anymore. I'm sick and tired of this because I want to buy a house. Well, now we understand the struggles of getting approved, in some regards for your home purchase. Mm-hmm. So moving on to slide number 3. Okay. So I updated the original slide to include the projections out to Q3 2026, along with the released numbers for 2025 fourth quarter. Basically, in a nutshell, America is drowning in debt, and we've got to stop the debt cycle. We're not if we want to have the things that we want to have, it's simple. It's simple. One of the most important questions to ask yourself, if you're in that just on the other side of that transformative second, and you've reached out for help, or you're about ready to reach out for help, is just simply ask what the most important question that you can ask yourself when it comes to finances. And I know I just everyone was like, what? Okay, here we go. What is it? I want you to ask one simple question. That question is this: what is the most important thing to you? Because once you answer that question, if getting out of debt and trying to change your finances is the most important thing to you, then the fact of the matter is it's not hard to say no to anything. In fact, I just gave you a beautiful out to answering anyone that might be trying to tempt or distract you from where you want to go. If it's not the most important thing to you, then the simple answer is, I'm sorry, I can't do that right now. There's some other things that are more important. You don't have to define what that is. You don't owe anyone an explanation.
It's like when a beautiful woman walks up to you and says, hey, I'd like to take you to dinner. And you're like, sorry, I'm married. It's just no.
No, exactly. And that's another analogy. If this resonates with anyone that may be listening right now, I'd love to talk to you, because if getting out of debt and taking control of your finances is is the most important thing to you, then I don't think you're going to have a problem saying no to anything else. With that being said, you can see that $1.68 trillion, or 9.5% in 10 quarters, is where we're at. If you look down at Q4 2025, you're going to look right at that 1899. The dot might be a little bit above that, but where we're projected to go is upwards of $19.5 trillion worth of debt. There is if you look at the trend line, we're not headed anywhere but up as consumers in America. And this was sourced from the New York Fed household debt and credit sites. So time to get off the hamster wheel. If you don't want to be here, then it's time to get off the hamster wheel. Any questions on this, Jennifer? Does this resonate?
The only thing that I have is, I know that sometimes when you're so deep in debt and there seems like there's no hope, and you're asking what's important, it's so bleak that you don't even know if anything is important.
It can be, absolutely, and we're gonna see some of why you want to hire Aspire Coaching as later on, and because you brought up a very key element to our values and what drives Aspire Coaching, and that is the word hope. And hope is not necessarily a strategy, but it is forward thinking that you can achieve something.
Continue on and tell us more.
Yeah, we're gonna head on to. So anything else resonate here with you?
No, they're ugly numbers.
Yeah.
Makes me think about the Jubilee they used to do in the Old Testament when all debts were wiped out. That'd be a lovely thing. But
Yeah.
that's why you can't just wipe out student debt alone or this alone or whatever. You have to do all debt, but that's not going to happen in our world. So
Yeah, exactly. It'd be interesting. I know Lance is not feeling very good, but I know he's listening. Lance, I'd love to have your take on this slide, and especially in your mortgage brokerage business
yeah.
and what we're facing. So, but I'm going to move on because time is of the essence.
Yep.
So, reasons to get out of debt: you want to take back your control. Take back control of your life. You lower the stress and increase peace of mind. And you want to create momentum to build real wealth. On the other side of your debt is building wealth. All of that money that you're using right now to send to someone else is then now available for you to spend on yourself. And in my case, I guess I don't spend a lot of money. So there you go. Okay, now we're going to get into real world success benchmarks and common coaching outcomes. Some of the reasons I want to shift into, and I didn't put a slide in there to transition us from all of the debt. So now that you've got the debt in your mind and what we're facing, I want to start transitioning into why you want to bring a coach into your situation. It's kind of like the theme of the title of our podcast today. It's time to put me in, coach. Okay. So real world success benchmarks, common coaching outcomes, debt payoff speed is typically 1.5 to 3 times faster. My clients are just shocked. I can share with you. One person recently said to me, "I can't believe I paid off $11,000 just by changing my focus from not being sure if I should make this payment to stepping into that and actually making the payments." Here's another quote from one of Aspire Coaching's clients. "Mark, I can't believe this. You gave me a raise and I didn't even have to ask for it." So those are some common comments that I've heard from my clients as a result of debt payoff speed, monthly surplus cash flow. If you're at the end of the day in our program, we're going to teach you something. We're going to teach you the zero-based budget system. That means that whatever comes in, that amount goes out or is purposed for. Every dollar has a purpose. Every purpose has a dollar. Okay. Credit score improvement. That's important if you're looking at wanting to use your credit score to purchase a house. Budget consistency. Reason why I've been budgeting for 10 years and I'm still finding, I just outlined, I'm still finding things to improve in. Budgeting is a patience, flexibility type of system. It is not one thing, not perfect every single time, and we'll walk through that. And obviously a significant reduction in financial stress. Those are common coaching outcomes. People with I loved and found this specific statement. The strongest statistic of all, people with accountability systems are dramatically more likely to reach goals than people going alone. If you think that you're going to go alone, the likelihood is you may be successful. However, with using a coach, you can and that coach bringing in accountability, your odds are 65% increase with regular check-ins and accountability through a coach, like Aspire Coaching. Anything stand out to you on this, Jennifer?
No, I mean, it all makes sense, but sometimes it's like you can hear it, but you don't understand it until you've experienced it.
You got to go through it.
In
Yep.
Spanish, there's two different words that mean know, like to know.
Yep.
There's saber and conocer. And saber means like you know a fact. Conocer is you know like a person. You've experienced it.
Yeah.
So these are all the facts, but then when you share the quotes, that helps us understand more what it is like to know to be in it. So yeah, I'm interested to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that you just said triggered the phrase for me. I'm going to kind of borrow it from Top Gun Maverick, and I'll dive into this a little bit. Is in what you just said, and to use that phrase. Sometimes we have to stop thinking and start doing. Okay, just stop thinking and just do. And we can also get caught up in something called paralysis analysis, and it's circular thoughts in our head of if I do this and I don't do that, and if I do this, and it's just a circular process, and you don't take steps, and before you know it, a year and a half has gone by, 2 years has gone by, 5 years have gone by, and nothing has been changed. Nothing really of substantial change has taken place. You're achieving average. So that's when you were talking, that's what comes to my mind. Okay, proven success rates of financial coaching. Goal achievement increases dramatically. People working towards goals on their own achieve 30 to 40% success rate. That goes significantly down the minute that you find that you hit a hurdle and you're not sure what to do. People with a coach or accountability partner, that success rate drives up to 65 to 95%. This comes from research by organizations like the American Society of Training and Development, which found simply having a goal, 10% success. Adding accountability, it jumps it to 65%. Regular check-ins, which Aspire Coaching implements, we have a 90, I want to back that off. You can have up to a 95% success rate, okay? Regular check-ins for Aspire Coaching clients, we like to do a 2-week, every 2 weeks, we want to see, we want to talk, we want to get together. In fact, one of the things that I wanted to point out that is different with Aspire Coaching and many other coaching programs is that we don't sit there and count the number of times that you schedule calls with us. Basically, you're hiring us for the entire month. I don't care how many times you want to schedule. If there's time if you've got an issue that needs to be resolved, if you have questions, we're available through email as well as phone calls. But that's the difference between Aspire Coaching and a lot of other coaching programs. I'm interested in your success. I'm not interested in counting how many times we meet. Anything specifically jump out at you there, Jennifer?
Well, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Why do you think accountability in the regular check-ins improves things so much? I have an idea just from knowing people, but I'm curious about what you think.
Well, accountability is doing what you're saying that you're doing, and that you're making the steps, you're taking the steps to doing that. Regular check-ins. Let's go back to what I said before in that one question. If you have found that the most important thing to you is your finances, accountability and regular check-ins, not an issue.
I think it's simpler than that, Mark.
Go for it.
I think that we as people really have an innate desire not to make people happy and to not disappoint people. And so if I have said, this is my goal, and you have said, great, I want to work with you, and here's what I want you to do by the next time we check in, I have a desire even more. I think sometimes people have a desire to meet their goal, but to please or make other people see them as successful in what they've done and have that pride that I did it, and also not just, like I said, not disappoint, but also to share that success when they happen. And if I sit there and go, okay, gosh darn it, we said that I was gonna, save $10 this week, right? I was
Yeah.
gonna try and have a surplus of $10. I don't know if that's even a thing, but I was gonna have a surplus of $10, but something happened, maybe something broke that needed to be fixed.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I had to spend the $10, but I can come to you and say, hey, it was an extraneous circumstance, and you can validate that, yeah, that actually was $10 that you did need to spend. Maybe
Right.
it was $100. You broke your foot and you had to go get crutches. Whereas if it was $100 and I broke my toenail and decided I was going to get a high-level pos pedicure for $100, I can say,
Right.
no, I was really trying to do this, but this situation, and it validates that, yes, you made a good decision
Yep.
if you didn't hit the goal. But if you did hit the goal that you two established, then it's validating that, yes, I can do this. And there's that additional, what's it called? What's the happy hormone? Endorphin,
Yes.
endorphin buzz of, I hit it, but also you're celebrating with me. So it's compounded.
Yeah, and Jennifer, you really set up the next slide, because we're going to talk about what a good coach is, and in the elements that you're setting up here is that here's flexibility. It doesn't always work out the way that we want it to, but you're making strong, good decisions, and you're not making those decisions where, oh, you know what, I'm out, we splurged on dinner, I guess I better pull some money from my emergency fund, right?
Right.
You had a situation that came up, you repurposed, and this is life happening, right?
Yeah.
You're flexible. One of the hardest things to overcome is people, when you sit down and you look at your finances and you say, I've been working on this for 4 hours, it's perfect, I know this is going to be the perfect formula for me, and 2 weeks into that perfectness of the week, something happens like you just described. It takes you off of the plan that you have, and you immediately come back to, I knew it wasn't going to work, I knew this was going to fail, it's not perfect, why should I even go forward anymore?
Right.
That's where a coach can come in and say, give you that safe space. That's where Aspire coaching comes in, that gives you that safe space to be able to say, hey, you know what, I was having to be flexible, I don't expect that's going to be happening next month, so let's get back on it. And having that safe space to communicate that's
Yeah.
one of the most important aspects of a good coach. So I think I'm just going to move. If you don't have any other questions, I'm going to move to that next slide.
Other aspects.
What's that?
Tell me the other aspects. Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump into the core elements of a good financial coach. Number one, strong listening skills. I've said this many, many times in several different forums that we have. A good financial coach listens. They are able to say, and they understand, not just respond. A lot of times, just be quiet and let your client talk. A client's real issue is often deeper than, I need a budget. Jennifer, one thing I was going to tell you today is this is not a budgeting presentation. How about that
Right.
one?
Yeah.
There may be stress, fear, relationship issue, conflict, or lack of clarity, and could be denial. So it's much more deeper than just, I need a budget. Empathy without judgment. We just talked about that. Many people carry shame around money. I know I did for a long time. A good coach creates a safe environment where clients can be honest and move forward. They challenge clients without shaming them. Empathy without judgment is in my mind, is probably the one of the core elements, deeper elements. Number one element that you or a person has to have as a coach. Number three, ability to simplify complex topics. Good coaches turn confusing financial concepts into clear next steps. At Aspire Coaching, we have a 90-day sprint milestone method that we use, and it's been fantastic for the majority of clients that have gone through it. And then finally, accountability and follow through. Progress often comes from consistency, not one big move. Did you hear that one, Jennifer? That one is, I'm going to sell my house and pay off all my debt and then buy a new house. That's a big move. That's a single. No, and in fact, I'm going to share with you. I know we're looking at time here, but I'm going to share something with you. In my opinion, the second best financial book on the planet. I think I've shared this with you once before, Jennifer. I've asked you this. Do you know what that book is?
The Bible. Or is that number one?
That's number one. That will always be number one. Yeah. But the second best financial book on the face of the planet is the story about the tortoise and the hare.
Yes.
The tortoise always wins. Methodical, day after day, step after step, boring, not running around trying to make one big move and looking for the silver bullet. Gotcha, I'm done, I'm out. I didn't learn, and what that leads to is I never embraced the difficultiness of getting myself to where I want to go.
This is why lottery winners get broke. This is why people who have large inheritances unexpectedly, who have never been made to work and have the ability to provide for themselves, lose their inheritances, and why, people lose houses when they finally have been able to buy them, or, like you were saying, that's exactly what's going on. Yep, exactly. Now, what do you get through Aspire Coaching in regards to just, we are not a, you need a budget. No. We're not, that's not Aspire Coaching. I want to describe what Aspire Coaching is to those people listening. Aspire Coaching provides clarity, confidence, structure, accountability, and what you were talking about earlier, hope. Mm-hmm. That combination is powerful because many people need the emotional momentum as much as math. Math is only a portion of it, but a small portion of it. Being confident, being consistent, having a clear idea, knowing that you're going to have accountability, and the hope of if I go through this program and if I go through these steps, I will get to where I want to go. A great financial coach helps people change their relationship with money. It's not just a spreadsheet. What our great clients often say about Aspire Coaching, a strong coach makes people feel clear, hopeful, accountable, capable, and in control. We're going to walk with you. We're going to guide you. We're going to be there along the whole path. It's important for you to know, and I'll finish up by saying, you don't have to do this alone. Jennifer, what did you say something too? So Go back one.
Okay.
When you are in a financial crisis, whether it's debt that you don't know how to pay off, or how to get to the next house, you're just feeling cramped, or you need a new car, you often do not have clarity. You often are very much fearful and not hopeful. You feel like you don't have anybody to talk to and that you're incapable and there's no use trying because everything is too much and too big. So the other thing, even from the very beginning, you're going to gain those things as you clear things out one step at a time. But what you as a coach do is you're coming in clear-eyed. and with hope, because you've seen it work for other people, and you're giving accountability without judgment, which is important, and you're providing attaboy, attagirls when those are needed to give that hope and make people feel that they're capable. And in the end, you're in control and you're handing the control off to your people. But at the beginning, they have probably none of those things or very few of those things that you have, and you're lending them to them. I'm reading a book right now, and it's a fantasy series, and there's a bard and a warrior, and the warrior has had his sword hand cut off, and the bard has been blinded, and they've been cast out. And the blind man is putting his hand on the warrior's shoulder because he has his eyes, and he's leading him through and saying, tell me what you see. Tell me what you see so that I can guide you. And so, because he has the vision of the knowledge of what he's seeing. So you're saying to these people, put your hand on my shoulder and I'll tell you what I see. And I'll help you see this so that you can then walk beside me instead of behind me. And in the end, take your own path or forward. But I'm always here because we've gone on this journey. I'm always here for you. So if in the future, not that you're going to backslide and get to the same situation, but if in the future you need help with a new goal, I'm here to assist you. That's one of the things that is really important, because really, if you've been, and I know you have, and I have, in those situations where you are in such a financial strait that you cannot see, and there does not seem to be hope, it's good to have someone trustworthy that has vision and sight to lean on.
Yeah, I 100%. And important part of what you just said is, setting a goal is, I can set a goal all day long. Tomorrow, I want, or six weeks from now, I want to run 100 miles. That's a goal. It's whether or not it's attainable is yet to be determined. The thing that's important about goals is that it's the system that you put in place to achieve the goal. Mm-hmm. That's the important piece. I can't get to 100 miles if I just want to go out there tomorrow and start running. I'm not going to make it. I mean, I'm not going to run 100, let alone whatever, obviously that's an exaggeration. Right. What I'm getting at is having a system in place that is holding you accountable, giving you hope, clarity, confidence, all of the elements that I just outlined. That's what's going to get you to your goal.
Right.
And at Aspire Coaching, we have a proven system of working very hard for 90 days, celebrating milestones through our sprint milestone method. And you need to celebrate your hard work. You need to be able to, enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's important. Now, does that mean if you're attempting to get out of debt, you go on a 7-day cruise? Probably not.
No, but maybe a Dairy Queen.
Yeah, maybe there's a stay home, a staycation weekend or something, that can, you've worked hard for it. And then once you've celebrated, we're right back on the horse and moving forward. But yes.
And I think too, with the clarity, it also is like we were saying, once you finish the one goal, it probably has already put mind clarity, probably be when you're 3/4 of the way through it, of what the next goal is.
Right. Absolutely. And there is a cost to bringing in a coach. I want to tackle that. There is a cost for hiring a coach. So one of the things that people, can have struggle with is they can't afford a coach. Well, my perspective is you can't afford not to have a coach. You can't afford to have the next 5 years going down that average path and not achieving. How long, or better yet, let me ask you the question. how long have you been in the situation that you've been in? But your mind is telling you, oh, I'm not going to do that because that's just going to cost me money. And yet you stay in the place that you are for years and years.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Let me ask you this
Yeah.
question, Jennifer. If you could pay $2,500 to find a way to pay off $30,000, would you do it?
Right. I mean, yeah, it's the return on the investment.
Exactly.
Yeah. No, I know.
And if your most important thing to you is getting out of debt, the statistics don't lie.
Right.
3 times, up to 3, at least from the recent research, that up to 3 times faster of getting out of that debt. Okay, if look at it like this, if you spent $100 for a year, and that got you out of debt, and if you sped that up 3 times faster, then how quickly would it take for you to recuperate the cost of what you're spending on a coach?
So you know what? I think you should bring a stat for us next week, and that is the average American household's credit card debt, whatever that is. Let's history major math, $10,000, whatever it is. And whatever the average credit card rate is, which I think we're in the 225s or something. So how much is that per year that you are paying to service your debt? I think that would be a very interesting statistic compared to the cost of hiring a coach.
Yeah, I absolutely. I can tell you right now, I've never not found my fee inside unplanned spending working with clients.
Sure. But I think that would be a really interesting number to know. The other thing I'd like you to plan to do on one of the sessions when we're focusing on you is maybe some tips for people like myself who are non-consistent income.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Irregular income.
Because I think that sometimes we tend to be in a more frustrating situation because we're like, well, sure. But when is what coming? You know what I mean? Like I've told you, I try and keep a 3 to 6 month of emergencies. But what happens when that goes sooner than that time period and it doesn't build up as quickly? I think that would be a good thing to do.
We'll do a presentation on irregular income. How do you budget for it? How do you manage an irregular income? And use that for to overcome your challenges. Irregular income is not an easy. It's not easy, but there is a method to the madness on that. So I'll be happy to share that with you guys.
All right, sounds good. And then I think we're going to wrap up. And look, they're doing something I'm not. Can you see? They're going by with a big boat.
They went by with a boat. Yeah, I saw that.
I'm getting ready to go out with a shovel and a pressure washer. That doesn't sound nearly as fun.
Yeah, that sounds like not fun.
So, but at least it's a beautiful day, and it is good to be able to physically do things. There are people who can't. Yeah. So, all right, well, enjoy your day. Until next time.
You do the same.